Boys, today we're going to be going over my UFC 2025 awards. Now, we're going to be going over Fighter of the Year, Women's Fight of the Year, Fight of the Year. I have some funny ones too. I'm not going to spoil at the end, but let's just get straight into it. Male Fighter of the Year, I have Islam Makhachev as my Fighter of the Year. Now, if Merab would have beat Peter Yan, this would have been unanimously Merab as Fighter of the Year. 4 title fights in here. And you know what? Merab honestly still could get it. I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't mind if people, have Merab as Fighter of the Year, okay? He did his thing, I'm not going to lie. 4 title fights in here is crazy. Even though he lost, we respect Merab over here. So if you have Merab, I'm not mad at it. He is second place, honestly, for me. But I have Islam just because this would have been a closer race too. If Merab would have won, he would have got Fighter of the Year. But if Islam would have fought Arman, then JDM, that would have been closer. But Merab loses, and Islam fights, sadly, Moicano at the beginning of the year. But then he moves up, beats JDM in dominant fashion. Moved up a division, moved up a weight class, dominated the champion. I think Islam is my Fighter of the Year. Other than Charles. Charles, no, I'm just kidding. I'm playing. Next up, Fight of the Year. I already dropped a video about this, but my Fight of the Year was Diego Lopez versus Gene Silva. This was an absolute war, guys. Go back and watch it. It was so good. There was so much blood. It was so much tension, bad blood between these two. The walkouts of these two were fire. At least Diego's was, but 2 of my favorite fighters going to war. There was a takedown, but just scrapping it out on the feet. Great ground and pound. Great. It was just cinema, bro. This fight was cinema. This is one of my favorite fights, not only this year. It was my favorite fight this year, but this is one of my favorite fights of all time, bro. I was sweating. I was shaking watching. Every time I say that, I sound like such a loser, but it's true, bro. I was so fucking scared for this fight. And it delivered in such a big way. Some other ones, Royval versus Van was a good fight. Some honorable mentions, Sadikov, Mata. Yuri's 2 fights were fire. Charles's fight versus Gamrot, yes, that was one of the best fights of the year. So those are some honorable mentions. But Diego Lopez versus Gene Silva, 100% my Fight of the Year. One of my favorite fights of all time. Moving on. Knockout of the Year. I'm going to give Knockout of the Year to Mauricio Rufy over Bobby Green. Look at that picture, bro. Oh my gosh, that picture's crazy. But this was generational, bro. This was on UFC 313 to start off the pay-per-view. This was generational. Face planted Bobby Green with a spinning wheel kick, Edson Barboza style. But I think this, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, the Edson one was probably better. I don't know. They were both pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. They're both up there for one of the best KOs of all time. Yeah, man, this was just so crazy, bro. Spinning wheel kick, kind of out of nowhere. You saw him set it up half spin, kind of you just saw it coming. But you also didn't at the same. It was just so out of left field. But if you rewatch it, you could see him you think it in his head and then just set it up. It was so beautiful. Such a great knockout. What are some other honorable mentions? Ilia Topuria over Charles Oliveira. Fuck off. That's not fucking KO of the year. That will never be KO of the year. That was a bullshit KO. I don't know. I can't even think of any others. But this is, fuck doing the honorable mentions. These are my awards. The KO of the year, Mauricio Rufy over Bobby King Green. Let's move on. Next award. Submission of the year. I'm going to go Merab over Sean. I'm really going to go Merab over Sean for submission of the year. I think this was, one of the only, choices you could make. It was a good finish, bro. I am a fan of both. I'm not too big of a fan. I used to be a really big Sean O'Malley fan before, he started fucking making excuses and after every... Bro, anyway, don't get me started on that shit. But I am a fan of both. I thought Merab was going to win genuinely deep down in my heart before. I thought Merab was going to win. I thought it was going to be a decision again. I thought Sean would do better. But nah, he just went in there, steamrolled Sean. I mean, put the pressure on, got takedowns, and subbed him. It was just a great performance. It was submission of the year for 2025. And then Merab went on to fight 2 more times after this, while Sean is nowhere to be found and his confidence is in the gutter. So, Sean, you need a win. I'm rooting for you to get a win. And Merab, I'm rooting for you to get a win too, in your next fight, hopefully against Peter Yan. So that was submission of the year. Merab over Sean at UFC 316. Moving on. Breakout Fighter of the Year. Now, I have 2 people for this, as you can see. I have Josh Van and I have Atiba Gauthier. Now, let me say this. Both of these. Okay, honestly, Josh Van should be breakout fighter of the year because he was like barely. I can't remember if he was ranked or not at the beginning of the year. I don't think he was, to be honest. Maybe he was 14 or 15, but at the end of the year, or at the beginning of 2025, if you told me Josh Van was going to be the champion, I wouldn't have fucking believed you, all right? He just got recently, not recently, but last July, July of 2024, he did get slammed out by Charles Johnson in Denver, Colorado. So that was not a good look, but he is the like upper echelon fighter of the year, like the more high profile fighter of the breakout fighter of the year, I will say. Like in main events, he was in a big fight on International Fight Week against Royval. Like he was like the, I don't know how to say it, like upper echelon, more known breakout fighter of the year, but Atiba Gauthier was like the lesser known, if this makes sense. I'm trying to fucking make it make sense. I don't know if I am, but I hope you get what I'm saying. Atiba Gauthier was like the unranked, breakout fighter of the year. Lots of finishes, devastating power. I think he fought 3 times, got 3 KOs. So yeah, these are my 2 breakout fighter of the year. If I had to pick one, though, I probably would say Van because he was unranked to a champion. That's insane. And a lot of people didn't think he was going to be champion. He wasn't really on anyone's radar. But Gauthier wasn't on anyone's radar either. He just had his fight in the Contender Series. But you know what? If I had to pick one, I'd give it to Van. But I'd say both of these guys are breakout fighter of the year. Next award. Walkout of the year. My boy Charles Oliveira had the walkout of the year, bro. The crowd went crazy. His song came on. I don't know a single word to his song. I know it's called Ohino. I listen to it daily. Yes, is that weird? No. I listen to Charles' walkout song daily, manifesting him slamming out Max Holloway. But let's get back to the walkout. This was look at this picture, bro. This is the picture on my home screen for my computer. Oh my God. I'm getting chills just looking at it, bro. Look at his team. Oh my gosh. I love his team, bro. I fucking love his team. This was so good, man. His music started. The crowd was on fire for Charles's walkout. He shows up on the big screen. They go crazy. He walks out. He gets out of the tunnel, and he does that spin thing. Like he spins around with his arm up in the air. Oh my fuck, man. His song gets me emotional, bro. I was nervous for this. I thought he would win against Gamrot, but this fight got me so nervous. Oh my God, that walkout was just so good. And then fucking Bisping's voice had to ruin it halfway through. But should I do a commentator tier list? I think I'm going to do that. But Bisping would be at the fucking bottom because his voice is so annoying. And he commentated this fight, which sucked. But this walkout was so fucking good. He hugged his family before he went in. That was so sad. I'm like, bro, if you get slammed out in front of your family again, I genuinely might stop watching the UFC. And I would have felt so sad. I would have sent him so many fucking DMs that he would have never saw. But yeah, this was walkout of the year. Crowd went crazy for him. When he does this shit, when he gets up on, like when he crawls to the cage like a fucking lion and he gets up here and he puts his arms out and like motions to the crowd, bro, it's so good. The crowd gets so hyped. I love this walkout. I'm not biased. This was walkout of the year, and he walked out to a very good crowd in Brazil. And him just beating Gamrot, it was just put the finishing touches on just a beautiful event. Moving on, pay-per-view of the year. I just made a video about this. I do have UFC 320 as pay-per-view of the year. Decent prelims, but this main card was just generational. Merab had a great fight with Corey Sandhagen, almost finishing him. Yuri with such a badass comeback victory over Khalil. What else happened? Pifer got a win over Abu Smagomedov. Yusuf Zalal got a first round finish, which was good because we don't fuck with watching Zalal or Emmett, though, was big mediocre. Shout out Lucas. So yeah, this was pay-per-view of the year. My boy Alex Pereira, one of my favorite fighters, getting his belt back, slamming out Ankalaev. No one wanted to see Ankalaev as champion, so I think everyone was happy with this pay-per-view. And Alex just being back in the win column, he has a sick walkout. The stare downs are always fire. And he just put the pressure on, pushed Ankalaev behind the black line, and just absolutely just put the pressure on and finished him. So this was a W hate watch for Ankalaev, and it was just it was a fire pay-per-view, bro. Seeing Alex get his belt back. So that was my pay-per-view of the year. Now let's move on. Next. I have some funny ones here. The worst fight of the year goes to these two fucking doofuses right here. Denzel Freeman. Yes, that is who that is. Denzel Freeman versus, I can't even remember the guy's name. Like, this is how bad this fucking fight was. This was on the Qatar fight, the Strukin versus Hooker fight. This might be like recency bias, but this was genuinely worse than any women's fight I've ever seen. Denzel Freeman versus Marek Bujlo. Bujlo, I guess. I don't fucking know how to pronounce his name, but he should be cut. Both of these guys should be cut. This was the first fight of the night on the Qatar card. And I'm not gonna lie, I debated canceling my ESPN Plus subscription. I debated never watching the UFC. I debated gouging my eyes out with a butter knife. Brother, this fight was fucking terrible. And at the end, this is what it was funny about it. I hate fighters who like are not in a scrap and just the worst fight of all time. At the end of the fight, they're like putting their hands up, like celebrating and shit. Bro, do you not realize what, like, the fighters not realize what they just did? Like, if they have a shit fight, do they not realize that fight was like terrible and like dog shit? If you're a fighter, let me know, but I've never trained a day in my life, so I wouldn't know. But this fight was the worst fight of the year. Yeah, man, this fight was just so bad. And I'm going to do some funny ones at the end here. So, worst fight of the year, Marek Bujlo versus Denzel Freeman. Cut both of them immediately. I don't know how both weren't cut on the night. If I see these two back in the UFC, I'm skipping the fight. I don't give a fuck. It's the first fight I'm skipping since 2020. Fuck it. I'm not watching these guys. Anyway, next up, another funny one. Worst fighter of the year. We are going to go with Rafael Cerqueira. Rafael Cerqueira? I think that's his name. No, that is his name. I just don't know how to pronounce it correctly. But yeah, this guy just goes out there and just gets finished at will. Like, no resistance, no like fighting back. Like, I don't know, man. Yo, we might need to investigate this guy, bro. Because there's no way this guy just goes out there and just like loses instantly. He's on a 4-fight losing streak, all 4 in the UFC. He's been finished twice in under a minute. Yeah, man, like, this guy's the worst UFC fighter on the roster, I think. 3 fights in 2025. He goes 0-3, loses to Modestas Bukauskas, 2 minutes and 12 seconds in, KO. Nasty KO too, like flatlines him, like separates him from consciousness KO. Then has a terrible fight with Julius Walker in the Apex. Just a nothing fight. And then on the Sarukian, worst fight of the year and worst fighter of the year were both on the Sarukian versus Hooker Qatar card. That's funny as fuck, but loses a submission to 30 seconds in, gets head kicked like 10 seconds into literally 10 seconds into the fight, gets head kicked, like really rocked badly, and then gets submitted by Abdul Rahman Yakiayev. So, worst fighter of the year, it's gonna go to Rafael Cerqueira. If you're not cut next year, I don't know what the fuck the UFC is doing. Yo, feed this. Oh, he's a light heavyweight. I was going to say feed this guy to a Tebe Gautier, but I don't know. Just fucking cut him or just, I don't know. Please cut him, actually. Don't even give him another fight. Please cut him. Yeah, let's move on to the worst event of the year. Now, this is going to be my last category for UFC awards. And this is another funny one to end the video. The worst event of the year was UFC Atlanta, Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. Now, I know we've had events. We had the fucking Blanchfield versus Barber fight where that fight didn't even happen, and Klein versus Gamrot was the 3-round main event. We have Apex fights. I didn't want to pick an Apex fight. Was there probably an Apex, card worse than this? Yeah, probably, all right? Every fucking event in the Apex sucks. Get the fuck out of the Apex, Dana. If I swear, do I not make as much money? Can someone let me know in the comments? But I don't really know how YouTube worked with that, but I really, I swear a lot, so I got to stop that. But this was the worst of crowded fight night event. This was worse than every pay-per-view. I'm sorry, this was worse than every pay-per-view. At least in the pay-per-views, we get the pay-per-view intros and like the belts on the line and shit. This fight card was really fucking bad, bro. So let's go over it. I'm gonna go over every fight. Just fuck it, why not? Jamie Lynn Horth versus Vanessa Demopoulos. It was a 30-27 for Jamie Lynn Horth. Decision 30-27. It was a really bad fight. Phil Rowe versus Ange Lusa. Now, okay, this was a scrap, and this was only. Let me check. There was only 3 finishes on this card, and this was one of them. And this was a little back and forth fight. I don't remember it quite. That's why I know it wasn't that good of a fight, but they both got a knockdown, and Phil Rowe finished him in the 3rd round, so that was a decent scrap. Ricky Simone versus Cameron Smotherman was boring as fuck. Ricky Simone got 9 minutes of control time. That fight went to a decision, 30-27. 2 judges had it 30-27, 129-28. Really boring. Jose Ochoa versus Cody Durden was a really good fight. The first round, I don't remember it much, but really 10 seconds into the 2nd round, if I'm remembering correctly, Jose Ochoa just slammed out Cody Durden. That was the second finish of the night. So, the prelims, and then the third finish came in the very next fight. Malcolm Wellmaker slimes out Chris Moutinho. That was a good fight. I actually fuck with that fight heavy. Chris Moutinho coming back. Malcolm Wellmaker just slimes him out. Like, why are you giving Chris Moutinho, Sean O'Malley, and Wellmaker, bro? Like, genuinely, they must fucking hate Moutinho, but that was a good fight, but that was it. That was the last finish on the card. 3 finishes in the first 5 fights. So it was looking promising, but after this, it just went so downhill. Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee was a horrible fight. 30-27 decision. That was a really bad fight between 2 old guys. This next fight was actually, it wasn't good, but it was funny. This was the fight where Paul Craig illegally hit Rodolfo Bellato, and Bellato fucking faked it. Oscar-worthy performance. So that was funny to see, but the fight was dog shit. It ended in a no contest, which, it was a nothing fight, so. But it was funny to see Bellato fake that shit. Bro, that shit was so fucking funny remembering that shit back. So yeah, that fight. And then the main card was really bad. Alonzo Menifield versus Umar Sy was fucking awful. It was so bad. It went to a decision. Like I said, there's no more finishes on this card. That was really bad. It was a really bad fight. Umar Sy got his first loss. If you're losing to Alonzo Menifield, you're never going to be anything special. Simply are just not going to be anything special. But next up, we had Absurd Abdul Malik. He fought Cody Brundage to a decision, and then it got overturned to a draw 2 months later, randomly. If you go look at the scorecard, this is the most random-ass scorecard of all time. It's a 2018 and then 2 1919 scorecards. Yo, someone tell me, this just proves is the worst of anything. What the fuck is that scorecard, bro? This was such a bad fight. Abdul Malik, Cody Brundage. If you have Cody Brundage on the fucking main card, you know the card's shit. Tony Barcelos beats Cody Garbrandt in a really nothing fight, too. That fight was really bad. Another decision. Edmund Shabazian versus Armin Petrosian. Armin... What the fuck am I saying? Armin Petrosian? I'm not going to edit that out. We're going to leave our flaws in. We're a flawed person, all right? Edmund Shabazian versus Andre Petroski. Shabazian did get a knockdown, but this fight was so fucking boring, too. Another decision, 30-27. So boring. Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. Another boring-ass decision. Lots of control time versus Rose. I don't know what happened to Rose, but ever since she moved up, she's been really boring. So, and then the main event, Usman versus Buckley, bro. There was so much hype for Buckley to knock Usman clean out, sign him out. But Usman went back to the takedowns. 12 minutes and 57 seconds of control time. Oh, my God. This fight was so hard to get through. This card was so hard to get through. So many decisions, so many lackluster fights. So that's why it takes the cake. And I hate Usman, so... I don't hate him, but he's one of my least favorite fighters, so... Yeah, this card... Worst fight of the year. Worst event of the year. Worst everything of the year. Fuck it. This card sucked. So, these were my events for 2025. I had some... I didn't do a lot, but, I had fight of the year, submission of the year, knockout, pay-per-view, walkout. And then I had some funny ones, like worst fighter, worst event, worst fight. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and be on the lookout for more videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.